I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to GameKeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the GameKeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We are live in 3, 2, 1.
Well, here we are, everybody. Welcome to West Point, Mississippi. It's the latter part of April, and turkey season's kind of winding down here where we are.
A lot of foliage on the trees.
Are you seeing honeysuckle?
Not smelling it, not seeing it yet.
I'm seeing a little bit of it.
What?
But I've got it from the top of the mountain that is not necessarily a true
statement.
Myth. Yeah. So, the old timers say when you start
old wives' tale.
So how long has Japanese honeysuckle been here for an old timer to be able to say that?
Ooh,
I don't know.
Mr. Native Plant has spoken
up.
up.
I don't know.
Just wondering.
Yeah.
Can we change that instead of using a honeysuckle for reference? Maybe it's like wild azaleas or something.
Something.
Are you wanting to start over, or you wanting to just change that out?
Well,
let's
honeysuckle.
We need to find a new reference plant.
Yeah. So the wives' tale that I think you've heard it too, Lanny.
A bunch. I've heard it from you mainly, but you're about the only old wife I know. So.
Yeah, I am an old wife. So but when the honeysuckle starts blooming, the turkeys are beginning to wind down. Mm-hmm. And so our guest today, Dr. Michael Chamberlain, who
in the
is
house, that's right.
a leader, and he's peering at me, glaring at me over here like we're starting something now that he's going to have to debunk at some point somewhere along the way.
He has to do that a lot with us.
Well, yeah, he does. I think he has to do that a lot with a lot of people. But I'd always heard when the honeysuckle starts blooming, the turkeys are beginning to wind down. But Mike tells us that's not the case.
I don't believe wives' tales.
Yeah.
So, I mean, an individual bird, you can always find a needle in a haystack that debunks the honeysuckle rule. Mm-hmm. That's my thinking.
So what is it? Is it just there's no more hens to breed and their testosterone drops and they're just going back into kind of feed mode?
Yeah, but when hens start losing their nest, they start engaging with toms again. So that's why you'll often see these end of the season and this magical day when gobbling is off the charts. It may be 2 or 3 individual birds that are starting to see hens again, and those hens are receptive to them. So
here we go again.
Here we go again.
I thought it was over with, but maybe it's not.
So you're saying there's a chance,
right? 100%.
They get excited.
Did y'all see that?
So, well, here we are. So the leaves are all leafed out. The season has certainly been we started off with almost full foliage, and I don't remember
it
that
wasn't
ever
early
happened.
spring.
That's the earliest I've ever experienced that I remember.
But I thought just speaking to the weather specifically, I mean, we had a 45-degree morning this week. So it seemed like it got off to a bang, but it didn't. Everything's not still super green, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, we had a late frost.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It hurt I got some sawtooths that it looks like they've been burned with fire. And I know that makes Dudley happy. But,
yeah, it does.
But it doesn't make me. So we're all everybody's gotten on the board, but Dudley and I just want to say we are cheering for you.
We are rooting for you, buddy.
Well, I think I've got a soccer game tomorrow morning, and some other function on Sunday.
I think Europe may have taken it out of you this time.
The Europe tour?
Yeah, the Europe tour probably played a role.
Yeah, that put me a week and a half behind, but...
Well, he's had some hunts.
I had some great hunts.
That's the great thing about turkey hunting, too. I mean, if you have hunts, you don't always have to have one.
Yeah, you don't have to stand on one's head to enjoy it. That's for sure.
Right.
Where is Mac?
Where is Mac?
So...
Mac's busy with seed sales there.
Well,
that's good.
He went to a funeral. That's
he did.
That is,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's good.
So we asked him to bring back a
written excuse.
Yeah, well, a note from the funeral home, sort of. But it's turkey season. I just want to make sure he's being honest with
it. If the funeral was at like daylight, then I would be like, I would have a little bit of suspicion, but I think he's legit on this one.
So today we're going to talk about misses. Every story we've got is about misses. And I'll be honest with you, as I start asking people about misses, everybody, they're like,
nobody is the expert that you
I've
are.
missed a bunch. Yeah, I'm telling, because I've missed multiple birds in the same day.
Yeah.
So, but everybody can remember their misses. Well, when I said something to Mike over there, he's like, well, I really hadn't missed, but so I'm scared we're going to throw some bad mojo on Mike.
You better not.
As long as he doesn't, use a statement that I'm not gonna miss, or I think you're good to go.
I'm about to leave on a trip that I'm really excited about to hunt alone for 4 or 5 days in South Dakota and Nebraska, and I bet you better not jinx me.
Well, we certainly don't want to.
Because my most profound miss story came from South Dakota.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're revisiting.
Yeah.
This could be a great.
Well, how has your spring been so far?
It's been good. I haven't really hunted that much. I feel like I've gone hunting a lot, but I was sitting talking to Mac earlier. I've hunted 5 times this year.
Oh man.
In 3 different states.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I've hunted 6 times in 4 different states, and I've killed a few birds and had fun. But there's so much going on in life right now. It's just super busy, and spring's shooting away from you. That's why I'm excited to go unplug for a few days and chase birds by myself.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
It is fun.
We're going to take him in the morning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
I mean,
heard.
I'm psyched. I'm ready to go.
I'm pumped for you.
And
Are you going to have a guide?
It is my understanding that I have the guide.
Oh. So we're not going to the Ponderosa.
No, we're not going to find. And it started off, he had the B team, but now he's got.
He's done got upgraded.
I think I've got the A team, is what I'm hearing.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's pretty good.
He is good. Yeah, we're referring to.
Needless
Toxey.
to say, I will not even touch a call. In fact, I may pull all of my calls out of my vest and just leave them in the truck.
No, I take him, and he likes it when you
No,
yell.
yeah,
I'm
he
just
does.
giving you a little
Yeah,
advice.
he does.
He'll like that if you'll yelp a little bit. He might glare at you
Yeah.
and give you the
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a little raspy there. Yeah.
I'd say I've had the pleasure of hunting with him. Bobby, all of us have here, and yeah, he's I can say he's one of the few guys that I've hunted with that every time I hunt with him, he's usually I can't see him, not only because he's wearing bottle line, but because he's Toxey. And once he gets in the zone, I've yet to hunt with him and not think that some turkeys are walking in behind me. I don't know how he does it, but he's good.
Yeah. And he does. He sits down and he kind of fluffs up the leaves around him.
Yeah.
And it's like another level of hiding.
Mhm.
It's pretty incredible.
He's good. That boy good.
He can run a yelper, that's for sure. So, well, look, all right, we're gonna talk through some of these
Talk
misses.
about missing.
We've got some stories to listen. I was hoping that Blood on the Biologic, we've kind of done another podcast earlier this week. I think we cleansed our minds of blood. There's been some youngins, but you had an update on somebody?
No, our own Ken Ivey just walked in here.
He sure did.
Yeah, been hunting this bird for, I guess, since the end of March, 1st of April.
Yeah.
And been just laser beam focused on him, been going every time he got a chance. And from what he told me, he dropped his kids off at school and had that feeling and called Terry. And Terry said, go have some fun, Ken. And just came by here and they went down at the mole hole.
He had that smirk on his face.
He was glowing.
Yeah.
He was.
He was glowing.
He was excited. Ken Ivey.
Ken Ivey.
That's what
So,
they like to call him.
congratulations, old Ken.
Hey, this is Toxey Hayes with Mossy Oak. Hunting and fishing, game keeping, and taking care of the land with my family is my life. And I'll be honest with you, the one app that I'm on every day and use more than anything is OnX. It literally has changed my life. From property ownership to roads, everything to do with understanding the land better. I even use it to plot acreages all the time. Every function I could dream of. Use coupon code Mossy Oak to save 20% on your next OnX subscription. Trust me, you'll be so glad you did.
All right, guys. Well, so let's just jump right into this. These
Who's up
stories.
first?
And I think Larry Moore, who, he's been here a long time designing camo back.
Long time.
He's been here 30 years at least.
He's been here longer than I have.
Yeah.
You've
been here 30
I've been here 30 years.
Yeah, so he's probably 33, 34 years old, and he looks at
30. No, he's not 33 or 34.
No, he's
years
been
old.
here that
Yeah,
long,
that's right.
and he's probably 70. He looks to be 75. And I think these misses are what did it to him.
No doubt about
So
it.
this is the same guy that did the fake deer.
Yeah, this is the guy that got Bobby at East Ridge.
He's played so many tricks on me. It's not even funny. We're in a little club together, and he doesn't let me turkey hunt, and he's pulled so many pranks on me.
It's a very entertaining relationship.
Yeah, and then one time, I put so I'll just tell real quick. Mike, you'll get a kick out of this. He brings me into his office one day, and this is before
internet.
Yeah,
digital. We were scanning limbs and leaves and stuff with a flatbed scanner.
So he was one of the first people in Mississippi to learn about Photoshop because he was using it to design patterns. He pulls me in his office one day and he shuts the door and it's just he and I and Toxey in this little club.
This is probably what 2004.
No,
3
sooner.
Was it longer than that?
It may have been earlier than that. It was a long time.
It could have been the late 90s.
It was before the internet.
Yeah, no, I don't know about before the internet.
No.
Before you were using the internet.
Yeah.
So he pulls me in his office, shuts the door, and he shows me this picture of this giant velvet buck at one of the feeders that's on. I mean, I can clearly recognize the feeder in the wood line, and here's this giant deer with 2 drop times.
Drop times, Daddy.
It's like a 190-inch deer, and he's like, I just got this picture. And
Bobby melted.
What are we gonna do? Look at this thing. We can't tell anybody. So he prints me off a picture of it, and I fold it and put it in my wallet, and I'm carrying this thing around and all the rest of the summer, all I'm thinking about is this deer. And when the fall comes, I just dedicate
his life.
He didn't even work.
100% his life.
Wore out a couple of pair of boots, and if the wind wasn't right, I would
go in there.
And I probably saw some 140s and 150s at any normal time of the year I'd have shot, but didn't shoot them because this giant deer is there. And this went on for a couple of, and then I started looking for sheds.
This is not 1 year in the making. This was what, 3 years?
Yeah,
this went on?
A couple of years it went on, and I'm not talking to anybody. I'm just losing my mind about this deer. And one day I'm at another hunting camp in North Alabama, and a guy who was from Texas was there, and he was showing me some stuff. And he pulls up this website, and there's that damn deer. The same deer is on this website.
It's like a breeder buck.
Yeah, it's a breeder.
He's in Texas now.
It's the same deer, the same pose, but he's in an enclosure. And Larry had cut that deer out and photoshopped it into this
Oh
picture.
my gosh!
Yeah, and
never told him. Yeah,
until to this day he won't.
He won't admit
He
it.
just laughs. But it messed with me for 2 years.
He was a hunting machine.
Yeah. And then so I was going to get him back, and I got a mannequin, and I was going to put it in one of his shooting houses, thinking that when he opened it up in the dark that he would see this, that it would scare. And I got so scared that I might actually give him a heart attack, or he might fall and break his leg, that I went and pulled it back out of the shooting house. So I really had never done anything to get even with him.
Yeah, you have a bigger heart than he has.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, let's listen to Larry's story.
Yeah, Larry's prelude.
You remember several years ago, they came out with how the short barrel shotguns were so good for turkey hunters because you didn't need as much room to move around and all. And I read all these articles about it, and I said, I think I'll buy one of those. So I got an 870 with a 21-inch barrel, and I took it out and I shot it, and had a good pattern to it and everything. And so I was anxious to go ahead and try it out and see how that would work for me. And that year, we all met down at Toxey's camp in Alabama for the opening day of turkey season. And the next morning, I decided I was going to go to a lease that Carsey Young and I had a couple of miles down the road from the camp. And I walked in, and I walked all the way down to a cutover and stood there until a little light began to break, and turkey gobbled right on cue, right where he's supposed to be, 100 yards down the side of the cutover. So I set up, waited for him. He gobbled a bunch while he was in the tree, and I'm sitting there thinking about, how many fried turkey nuggets I can eat already, And the sun starts to come up. He flies out into the cutover. You've hunted some areas like that, they'll fly out in the middle of it, and sometimes they won't come. Well, I yelped to him. He started coming, and he walked straight down my gun barrel, and he walks out there about 25 yards, and I shoot. Turkey jumps up in the air, flies, hits the edge of the timberline before I could ever even take another shot. So I'm looking around, what in the world just happened? So I walk out there. There's not a feather to be found. I can't find anything. I walk in the direction he had flown. Can't find anything. Nothing. So I said, well, to hell. I'm going to go ahead and hunt for next couple of hours here, and then I'll go back to the truck. So I do that, and I'm walking back to the truck, and out of nowhere, a turkey gobbles out in front of me on the other side of a ditch in the woods. So I set up, call the turkey. He's coming. He comes to me. He comes to the edge of that ditch, and you've had that happen, I know. And he stops. He won't cross that ditch. He's about 30 yards. I say, well, I can kill him. So I shoot. Turkey runs off, flies in the air, takes off. I walk over there. Not funny. I walk over there. There's not a feather, not a turkey. There's nothing there. So, by this time, boy, I'm really depressed. I'm walking out of the woods, and I'm kicking myself all the way out. And I get to the truck, and I get in the truck, and I drive back to camp. Well, you've been to the camp down there in Alabama. I drive up, there are 3 dead turkeys hanging on the pole out there. Everybody's standing on the porch. And so I know it's story time. I have to tell my story of the 2 misses on one morning. So I go through the whole ordeal, and I tell everybody, and don't embellish it. I just tell the facts on it. And I get through with the story. And our turkey godfather, Toxey, stands up on the porch. And with his old Southern gentleman voice, he says, well, fellas, I think from what it sounds like to me, a man could have bought a mighty cheap shotgun this morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's clearly, those short barrels, Mike, they didn't last very long. I think people realize pretty quick they're hard to shoot.
Yeah. There's a reason I've kept my 870 with a 28-inch barrel and shot it for 25 years. And I like the long barrels.
Love the long. And I think Larry, after that, was talking about how he have a tendency to pick your head up on a shorter barrel for some reason. So I think that's what caught him.
Well, there's some. I mean, they've come out with some more. The short barrel shotgun has made somewhat of a comeback recently.
Has it?
But
yeah.
Well, I like the idea because if you sit down next to a tree and there's another tree in front of you, could move around it if you're cutting off 5 or 6 inches of barrel length there. But that sight plane that you lose, I think, is very potentially very helpful to you. I think 26 is about a minimum from what when I talk to shotgunners, but for lining their eyes up and all that. Y'all are all looking at me like
to each his own,
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well, Dudley, all right, Dudley, will you? What length do you prefer, Dudley?
I mean, I've got
this year. How many is it working?
This year, well, you got to be able to pull the trigger, but to miss. But I did miss 2 the year before, so that was actually the shotgun you sold me that I missed with.
Of course, I sold you that gun. Shoot straight.
So Mac has it now. I sold it to Mac.
I just don't like Bobby. You change your shotgun like from year to year to year. It's like you're changing up. Your sidearm. I mean, what you depend on out there. So,
I have changed mine this year. I put one of those Leopold red dots on it.
It's like you're tinkering with your stuff every year. I don't. I'm shooting the same shotgun I've shot for years. I'm not saying I'm doing it right, but
well, let me tell you, your eyes is coming though, where it's harder to. Mike, you're probably not there. You're probably getting close. But,
I'm there.
But it's that sight that you have been able to see, and focus on, and then the target behind it. As your eyes get worse, it's harder, and that's where I think this Leopold red dot. I think I'm liking it.
Yeah, cool.
But it's an age thing. And you're not there yet.
And he's old. He's old.
Yeah. I'm not far behind him. So.
Yeah. Well. Anyway.
Sorry.
Well, Larry, he remembered that vividly. That was quite a long time ago.
That's a good story.
I think I would have remembered that too. That's a bad day.
Yeah,
missing 2. Have you ever missed 2 in a day?
Yeah, I have. I sure have. All right, Richie, what have you got next for us? Get it off of me.
All right, let's go ahead and jump on Jason here.
Okay.
Jason Hart.
There he is.
So this was my 3rd trip in 3 years in a row going to Arizona. And finally, the last day of the season, Rick and I were riding around, and I had located some birds the morning before, and we were in that general area, and we were driving from mountaintop to mountaintop on these public roads, and I struck a bird. Well, the bird came right in like clockwork, just answered every one of my calls, and he came in, and we were hunting in some dark timber. And I had noticed when I was in Vermont and Arizona that my red dot on my gun was shooting low, and it was maxed out. It was shooting 11.5 inches low. So if I'd hold it to the very top of the turkey's head, that's what I was doing. So, but it was during COVID, so there was no way to go buy a new red dot. So there were no stores open at the time. So I knew that my gun was shooting low. Well, we get out there, the bird's coming in, I turn on the red dot, and it's stuck on full bright. It's the full that the setting you're supposed to use when it's full sunny outside, and we're hunting. It is just breaking daylight, and it's dark timber. And this bird comes in, as pretty as a picture, at about 25 yards in full strut, and I can't see the bird because my red dot is at full bright. And finally, I eyeball it to the left and right, and I said, I got to be on them. And I pull the trigger, and the turkey flies straight up in the air and lands 5 feet from us, confused as to what just happened. And I go to chamber another shell in my I pull the trigger on my semi-automatic shotgun, which the brand name is not going to be said, and it did not fire. The spring did not eject. And I threw another shell in, and in that amount of time, the turkey had already run 60 yards off. So I was left with a pile of feathers, a turkey that got away just fine, that wasn't hurt. But then I get a text message from Daniel Hayes, did you kill one in Arizona so you can come to Mississippi opening day? So it literally cost me, I was like, oh my gosh, it cost me another year in chasing the U.S. Slam. It's the last day, and I bet I drove another 150 miles that day trying to find another gobbling turkey on Arizona public land on the last day of the season, and I did not find one. So I went back. So I literally had 11 months to think about that.
Don't you say Jason has a claim to fame?
He says that he has missed more Grand Slams, Royal Slams, missed birds in more states
than anyone alive. Yeah,
more turkeys in more states than anybody.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Yeah. Now I think he might be jesting, but he might have.
I don't think he is. I think he's serious. I think
he's probably close at least.
I know he has hunted that much.
He has hunted a bunch of different states. But if you had put all this effort into going to Arizona or whatever state it is, trying to do this U.S. Slam and then miss, that'd be frustrating.
Yeah, that would be frustrating.
I mean, think about any hunt you go on where you only have a certain amount of time and you go home empty-handed because of a screw-up. That's so deflating.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's a deer hunt or a turkey hunt or whatever, it's just like then the whole travel home, you're thinking about it.
This is what I should have done.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It is not easy.
No.
The adrenaline, you're close to the ground, there's brush everywhere, you're in some odd position, which is one reason I like my red dot nowadays. You can practically shoot left-handed or be laying on the ground. You just put that dot on it, but still miss. But.
he put the dot on him.
Oh man,
it's not an easy scenario.
No,
most of the time.
No, you occasionally get blessed with one that does things just right, but it's no.
So think about this. Now, Jason has killed a lot of turkeys, and he's hunted and killed one in all 49 states. There's been a lot of hunting going on in Jason's life, and he still gets excited, still potentially misses one.
Oh yeah,
things go wrong. It just happens.
It's just part of it.
Does.
It's part of it.
It's hunting.
It's hunting.
That's why we go back.
All right, Rich, who's next?
Well, we got David Hawley and Chris Hawley next. Now, I got them both labeled David Hawley, so I don't know exactly who's going to be played next, to be honest.
That's fine. We'll be able to.
We're used to that kind of stuff, Rich.
First, Bobby, do we really have to talk about misses? Should we talk about maybe having a root canal during turkey season or stomach bug or something more pleasant than? But I've had my fair share. Let me just tell you.
Yeah.
So, I've had so many, and then taking folks and watching misses, and there's always Uncle Fox had a saying and it's probably already been mentioned, but he said, "Don't worry about it, son." Said you'll
you'll forget about it in 20 years. And now you've reminded me of all the mishaps that have happened through the years. But one really comes to mind is you always have those turkeys they get a name because they just, you've worked them so many times and, never can kill them. And you just keep going back. So one spring, this has been years ago, and literally it's been over 20 years ago. We had a turkey that we had hunted for a couple of years and couldn't do anything with him. And one morning, it just, for some reason, it changed. And I think we had him named the doctor or the professor or something. We had some name for him, but he always roosted in the same place, always had a bunch of hens with him. And he was just one of those tough turkeys. And so this particular morning, for some reason, his attitude changed, and he came up and did everything he was supposed to do. He was pretty slow coming up, and it was a long hunt, but he hit a log road, and he walked up, and he got 50 yards, and I said, it's going to happen. And it's got 40 yards and 35, and he got in an opening right there. And you could just tell at that time he came out of strut, and he looked and like, you finally won. And anyway, I just squeezed the trigger, and when I did, I missed him, and he never flinched one bit. He stood in the same spot, and I put the bead back on him, and I'd only put one shell in the gun that morning. And I snapped, and that was the last time I ever saw the doctor and professor. I heard him about every morning, but I never got him close enough where I could see him. And you talking about being dejected, I was pitiful. I used to have migraine headaches back then, and I'll never forget that about halfway back to the truck, I started having a migraine headache. And I had to go home and get in bed, and that turkey gave me a migraine headache.
That was definitely a stress-related headache.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness.
You lose.
So I asked him about the one shell in because, but is that something they normally does? And he said he did not know why. He just only put one shell in that day.
Doing that one shell, I've had to have hand-to-hand combat with them before. It's kind of rough.
Yeah, you run out of shells more than anybody I know. We need to get you an Apex sponsorship or something.
They're doing well for me. There's no doubt about it.
I've done that duck hunting.
Yeah.
That put one shell in, and
I'll do it wing.
Well, another group will start working, and you don't want to make the movement, and then you just forget that you only put one in or none.
I've been shooting so bad in the duck blind that I made myself shoot one shell, till I get back into rhythm. But
I put one shell in the gun years ago, opening morning. For whatever reason, I put one shell in. The birds comes in as a bunch of green wings. I'm talking a bunch of them. I said, shoot. Austin's in the middle, and a buddy of mine's on the end. They stand up. Now, they're way like, and I do my one, boom, pow. And nothing falls, and I think Austin tripled, and Duke shot two. And
didn't he make the first one count?
Yeah, no. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, I just was like demasculated, just like literally just like, what happened right here? I did it again. Two groups later, I did it again. I put one shell in, and it almost sounds like a muzzle, like a little pop, pop, poop, when it goes off, and then your buddies are just pop, 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 pop.
That's I think the best word I've ever heard for the way you feel after you miss. Demasculate.
Yeah.
The good doctor has taught us another term.
Now, calm down over there, Richie.
Well, it is, and to give him a migraine. Wow.
Okay.
All right, so I guess next we've got by default David Hawley.
Oh, Dave.
That'd be correct.
Well, there's not many good turkey stories that involve a miss. Sometimes, you get some of your best life lessons out of failures. But I had one a few years ago, and unfortunately there's been so many mishaps. I keep kind of a journal and a log, and I was going through it yesterday and looking at some of my misses, and it's funny how, the details about every kill, there's certain details that may be a little fuzzy, but you remember every miss and every mishap or misfire or anything like that, just like it happened yesterday. And you probably still get, a little sick about it. But this one was kind of a interesting story. So I hunted a place in probably 2006 that was on a big bluff on the Tombigbee River. And Dad and I actually called a turkey across the Tombigbee, came up there and I killed it. So I'm telling everyone about this story. You can't believe that. And I'm feeling kind of good about myself, I guess, maybe a little cocky. Well, as the turkey gods do, you have a way of being humble. Well, the very next year, I'm hunting in the exact same place, the exact same ridge, call up a turkey. He gets on my flank. I try to snap and shoot. I miss him. He flies across the river. About 15 minutes later, he goes back to gobbling. 10 minutes after that, boom! So somebody killed him. He flew the river and somebody else killed him. And anyways, to add insult to injury, about a week after that, we were hunting down at Portland Landing, which, of course, y'all all know the history there. There was a turkey up on the Alabama River bank around what we called the Longfield. We called him through a pine plantation to about 30 steps. Now, mind you, this was the days before TSS, red dots, all that we have now. He was in a full strut, which is sometimes can be a cardinal sin, but I shot him, missed him. He flew across the river. 15 minutes later, it's just like deja vu. He gets back to gobbling 10 minutes after that. Boom. So I had a good dose of humble pie in the span of 2 years with turkeys that flew the river in one way, shape, or form, either coming to me or going away. So, but yeah, it's those that you learn a lot of lessons from, and I sure would like to go back in time and have the modern loads and stuff we do now, because I think there'd probably be a few more spurs in my trophy case.
Golly, I
Man,
think
that
that's
hurts.
the worst story I've ever heard.
That hurts.
Not only did he miss, but the turkey flies the river and somebody else kills him.
So let me ask you this. So I'm looking at Mike. So I think I have just assumed all my life that if you missed a turkey or you boogered one up, especially if you shot and missed it, that turkey wasn't going to go somewhere and start gobbling in 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. That part of his story surprises me. But I don't have anything to compare that to. No experiences where I've know of really scaring a turkey and then him going back to gobbling. Have you got any kind of?
I had a bird bust me one time that was gobbling 20 minutes later. I didn't kill him. As David was recounting that story, I do remember a bird that there were two of the birds. There was a pair together. One of the birds got shot. The other bird ran off, and the direction he ran, a few minutes later, a bird started gobbling, and we ended up killing him as well. But I don't think that there was some disagreement amongst the group as to whether that was the same bird. I didn't feel like it was the same bird.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a bird that had been farther off, that had been gobbling, coming to us. But boy, it made a hell of a story at the time.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah, I've just always assumed that, boy, that one would be boogered for a few days.
There's back in the old forum days, I used to read these people typing about public land hunting and such, and I don't really condone it, but I think that was a bit of a tactic. And, the example is you're working a bird and somebody else comes in on top of you and they want to kill that bird worse than you do. And so they shoot their gun in the air, make you think that the turkey has been shot, and then they will leave. And then that guy will sit there and wait for the turkey to start gobbling again.
I've had this happen to me multiple times. I've had this experience.
Yeah. Not the right thing to do, but times. I have heard that it works.
I have never heard of such.
Interesting.
This has happened to me probably 4 to 5 times hunting on public land over the years.
Somebody has shot the bird that you're working.
I'm working a turkey, and I see somebody walking in, and they get to the edge of the range and boom, shoot, and start walking straight towards the turkey where the turkey was. Yep. And pretty much start hunting again.
Don't do that.
Yeah, it's not a good thing.
It's wrong.
This is one of the reasons I do not use decoys, because I've been scared to death without them, so I don't need them. And seriously. But again, I've spent the majority of my time, on public land. So I can tell. I've seen this tactic in action multitude of times.
I mean, it is a bird, and they make a noise to try to regroup with their buddies. So it only makes sense that they would start vocalizations again sooner than later.
I think about what George says when I think about what he said. One thing in particular a lot lately, and he said, as much as we get caught up with them, remember, it's just a turkey,
I don't know, but that just goes against everything I've ever thought.
Yeah,
I would have thought that when you shot that turkey, shut up. He went somewhere else, and he probably wouldn't even look at a hen if she yelped at him. He'd be scared of it.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
I would think it would affect how much they gobble.
What about the old fall turkey tactics where you scatter the flock and they come back?
Key them back in.
So
well, I mean, my memorable miss that ended up with a kill. I mean, the birds didn't run off after they were shot at.
Yeah.
So I mean, how many times have you shot a bird and had other birds stand there?
Yeah.
I think it just depends on their attitude at the moment. If they're fired up, then maybe that's we are talking about an animal that has a brain. It's pretty small, and it's complicated by testosterone and breeding behavior. So to David's point, maybe that bird just, once he flew that river, he's like, hey, that was behind me. It's time to start over.
Is that a hen I hear over?
It's a new day.
I need to breed before I get shot.
Yeah, that's right. It might increase the breeding. I only got one chance.
That's interesting. Well, so Dudley, what about, have you got a story for us?
I've, like everybody else in this room, I've missed my fair share, probably more than others. But one of the times we were actually at the duck camp, I don't know if it was a work weekend or not, but I was a turkey hunter. Half the folks there were turkey hunters. Some of them weren't. And for whatever reason, we decided to go out. And I want to say it was 5 or 6 of us. It's like, let's just go turkey hunting.
Yeah.
And so there was an area, a really old slough in the back of the woods. Really wasn't a great duck hunting spot, but it's historically known as a good little spring turkey roosting area. So we go and set up before daylight, and it's like we're looking out into this huge cotton field, and behind us is this slough, a lot of hardwoods, and then obviously cypress around the slough. We hear a turkey gobble to our left, and it's like, 5 or 6 of us on this tree line, sitting, every 4 or 5 yards from each other.
I hear y'all getting a group hunt.
Yeah. So, we're probably 10 or 15 yards back in the woods overlooking this little cotton field, and just picture perfect. The birds fly down and they start working our way, and they get past everybody except for me. I'm the last guy. I've got my old Model 12 with my 2 3/4 inch 12 6 shots. And here's a gobbler 15 yards in front of me, right on the edge of the field. I'm like, this is cool. I'm going to impress all my friends that didn't get a shot. Pull the trigger, and I didn't put a shell in my gun.
Oh.
And
so was it straight click?
Wow.
Straight click. And so then I start rustling for a shell, and then they see me and run off. So I was trying to be cool and impress everybody, and I blew it.
What, did you get heckled very much?
Oh, I got heckled, but just total ADD maneuver. I've done it before with deer, and it'll probably happen again.
I've done it, Dudley. So
yeah, the deer right there.
This deer.
I got to kill that deer because Lanny forgot to load his rifle.
Sure did.
Well, that's a very Dudley move.
Oh, totally.
100%.
So
that looked like that shocked you, Mike, when you heard that story.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to load your gun.
You have
even
to
if you
load
only
your-
put one shell in.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I don't know. I was having a good time, but
It's all about having fun.
Yeah. Well, so I'll tell my miss, and then Lanny get you ready, and then we'll end up with the good doctor over there.
Which one are you going to tell?
Well, I had so many to pull from. But I thought I would tell one that somebody could learn a lesson from. So as I began to hit my late 30s, I started needing glasses to see at a distance. And it really made a difference when I was deer hunting if I put on some glass, I could see a couple hundred yards away, and man, everything's in focus.
Yeah, there's a deer out there.
Yeah,
look there.
I didn't want to wear glasses, but I kind of saw that. Well, this really helps. So, as spring got here, Lanny, you were actually on this hunt.
I was going to tell the same story. This is great.
Well, so Mike, Lanny and I go in there to hunt a bird that it's in a little hardwood bottom, know right where he is, and we go and I let Lanny. No, I'm so nice about it. Lanny. Where do you want to sit?
Let Lanny.
You pick where you want to sit, and I'll sit over here to the side, and the bird's gobbling, and it's so pretty. It's a cold morning. And we like to wear those half masks. Mm-hmm. So I've got these new glasses on, and I've got a half mask, and I made the mistake of pulling it over my nose.
Oh, yeah. Can't do that.
And so I'm sitting there, and I'm really hoping Lanny kills the bird. He's kind of into
He's lying.
Cat bird.
That's why he said you sit wherever you want, because he wants you to sit first. That's what he's trying. He's trying to be Mr. Cordial, but he knows what he's doing.
So the bird is answering everything that we're doing. And at this time, I had still had that old box call I love so much, and this bird was eating it up.
It's a sweet call, too.
And so the bird hits the ground, and the gobble sounds different. We know he's on the ground, and we're just not moving, sitting there, and just kind of letting the situation unfold. And several minutes go by, and I hear like a little micro cluck to my left, and I look, and about 20 yards from me is this giant longbeard just standing there, periscope up. Instead of coming straight to us, he's coming in from the side.
Yep.
And immediately when I saw him, I went, and my glasses just.
And I'm watching
totally
this
fogged.
from just a little bit of a distance.
Totally fogged. I can't see anything now, and there's no way I can reach up and clean them off. So I have to try to tell myself to stop breathing so that my glasses will unfog. And as they unfog, I can see he's there. He's still standing there, and I start trying to move my gun and trying to do something productive, and I breathe again, and it fogs up. And been sitting there with those fogged glasses and that turkey at 20, 25 yards just standing there is just making me crazy.
And making me crazy because I'm like, what is he doing? Yeah. And we're in such a line that I'll actually shoot Bobby if I shoot the turkey this time. So this is one time I wasn't going to do that.
So they unfogged just enough that I said, I've got to try something. And I shot, and evidently I shot straight over this turkey's head. And he takes off, and literally he just flies out as far as if the horizon was 3 miles, he flew
I've never
3
seen a
miles.
turkey fly that far in my life. You see him.
Yeah.
This turkey got up over the pine trees, and the last time we saw him, he was going through the clouds.
And Lanny started laughing as only Lanny could do. And my lip was poked out, and I don't think I've worn glasses when I've hunted since then.
Yeah.
I just rather not even see out than know what's going on than have that happen.
I want to get that surgery, the LASIX, so I don't have to deal with that anymore.
Well, that's bad. That's bad. So did I take that? So that was your story?
No, that wasn't my story. But if you didn't tell that story, I was going to tell that story for you. But I do have another story I can throw in there.
All right, well, let's hear it.
Listening to David, I had some pretty early success in my early turkey hunting career. Doc, I believe, was influenced by the guys around here, and thought I was pretty good at it. Was shooting these shells called active shells, which are 5s and 6s mixed together, big long plastic shells, waterproof. After that, had killed my first few turkeys with those and moved on. And we had this hunt planned with Mossy Oak Properties with the Hollies and a guy that won the Agent of the Year, J.J. Keith in Texas. And I was getting my stuff together, and I found 3 of those old active shells in all my stuff. And I was like, I'm going to take these to Texas and kill a turkey with them. So off we go to Texas. We had a pretty good hunt. I think J.J. ended up on the last day. We killed one. And we were on the way out. I had like 16 hours to drive home. I'm like, I got to get out of here. And he's like, no, you need to try to get a turkey before we leave. And I'm like, you're right. So we make one more stop. I yelp. Sure enough, turkey gobbles. I got these active shells. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to kill a turkey with some of these old shells that I first started turkey hunting with. This is going to be great. So we ease on out there, get on the tree. JJ's right beside me. I yelp. Turkey does exactly what he's supposed to do. Comes in strutting to right at 35 yards. I'm down on my gun, bead right on his wattles. squeeze the trigger, and it makes a sound like a Roman candle. Boom. And in the back of my mind, I can see the shot going out there to him. The shot hits the turkey. The turkey thinks it's gnats on his head pretty much. It just kind of, I can hear it hit him. And he shakes his head a little bit. I'm like, no. And I put it on him again. Boom. Shot. You can hear it hit the turkey again. And he shakes his head and runs off. So, moral of the story is, don't use old shotgun shells.
I have never heard of such. Have you ever heard of shells doing that?
I had that happen muzzleloader hunting one time in Illinois, where the powder had gotten condensation in it from being single digits and then going in the house, single digits going in the house. And I had it right on this really nice 8-point, upper 40s 8-point. And poop, poop, boom.
That's it. Boom.
I could hear the different, basically powder igniting, and the bullet came out and hit the ground about 15 feet in front of the deer. He just stood there.
Yeah.
If it ever happens to you, you will never forget that noise.
Yeah.
It's a boom.
I lost 2 in a row doing that one time. Yeah.
Oh, you've done it too?
Well, I was trying to be sentimental. I got my dad's old 870 with a 30-inch barrel. Of course, I didn't sight it in or anything because we didn't think to do that 25 years ago.
That's right.
And I found some of his old Federal premium copper-plated 6s that's all he used. And I wanted to kill one with his old shells.
Yeah, his old shells.
And the same thing happened 2 turkeys in a row. And then I cut one of them open, and all the copper had, what's it called? Like copper.
Patinaed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like wet in there. Like the powder had, been exposed to the elements somehow, and it was just goopy in there.
Yeah.
So
that happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've got a box of those. I might bring one up here and let's cut it open.
The actives or the Federal premium?
No, the Federal premiums.
Yeah.
Copper-plated number 6s. I used to love to shoot them.
I cut some of those old duplexes open, and it was the same thing. So I don't know if I was storing them in the wrong, a damp room. Or,
so the moral of the story is shoot Apex.
Yeah. Thank goodness for Apex.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for Apex.
Wow. All right. So look, we're all thinking that there's going to be some kind of tremendous story here coming from the Wild Turkey Doc. And if you don't follow him on Instagram, you ought to. It's a very educational.
Very
Turkey
educational.
Tuesdays are really good.
Got to catch up on those Turkey Tuesdays.
Mine may be a little anticlimactic. I haven't missed a lot of turkeys.
You probably need to knock on Lanny's head there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the ones I'll call misses, I can think of several that I wounded the bird, which is worse.
Yeah.
Just soul crushing, and in one instance it was my fault. The other instance, I honestly don't know what happened, but my most memorable miss is it ended well because I killed the bird, but it's a lesson in what not to do. And a buddy of mine and I were in South Dakota a few years ago, and it was 16 degrees that morning. And we had some intel from the landowner that these birds would be along a stream behind his house, and they would fly down and either do this or that. But as we were looking at our phones and maps, you couldn't split the difference. You had to pick which direction So we picked scenario A, and of course the birds did scenario B.
Oh, for sure.
But we had been told if you just sit tight, they end up in this field sometime during the day. So we just married ourselves to sitting there. Well, I had every piece of clothing that I owned on that trip on my body, and I was freezing to death. And I can remember we had put a hen decoy out thinking, if they get out in this field, they can't get to this next windrow without at least seeing something standing there. Maybe they would cut the distance, and, well, they didn't. They strut, and there's 3 hens and 2 toms, and they're all morning they're strutting, and we are freezing to the point where we're having a conversation at the volume you and I are talking right now because we're so cold. We're starting to have functional issues. Can't feel my fingers at all. My toes are frozen. we're sitting in, a turkey chair, which is usually really comfortable, but it's ice cold and there's air flowing under it. So your butt is,
you've compressed all your insulation.
It's just miserable. But these two birds were just stunning, and it was sunny. You imagine one of these prairie days in South Dakota where it's sunny, beautiful, the sun's glinting off of these birds, and they're just they never come out of strut for 3 hours. They're just strutting. And finally, one of the hens, they start getting closer, and she looks over and sees that hen decoy, and she starts calling to me. Well, I'm so cold that I'm afraid to mouth call because I don't really know what will come out of it. So I have a slate call in my lap, and I start clucking at her, and she clucks back, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Mm-hmm. Well, she starts coming closer, and I say to my buddy, I'm like, okay, let's get ready. They start coming, and here come the toms. And I'm on the gun barrel looking down this gun I've shot a lot of times. And I think in reality, I wasn't on the gun. I was just looking over the gun. Mm-hmm. And because these two birds were so beautiful. And they get right there in front of us, and my buddy says, you ready? And I'm like, no, don't shoot. I don't want to mess their fans. I hate shooting a bird in strut. I hate it. And I was like, just sit here. They're going, they're not leaving. They're trying to find me. And finally the one on the left comes out of strut, and I start pulling the trigger, and nothing is happening. So I know at this point my head's up off the gun, and it was a mossy oak glove, but it was a thick winter glove, and I'm pulling the hell out of this trigger, and nothing is happening, and all of a sudden, boom! The gun goes off, and this bird, I don't even know. I might have been shooting towards Nebraska. I don't even know where the gun. I was somewhere in the area. My buddy shoots. It's the same, like boom, boom. He misses. Ooh. So both birds jump up off the ground and stop and start kind of trucking away from us. Not super fast. We both stand up, and at 38 and 40 yards, stone both of these birds dead. And as we're standing up, I didn't realize that I said this, but he says, what were you hollering at when you stood up? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, you hollered, like, what the hell did we just do?
That's what I would think you would have said.
And I was like, I didn't say that. And he goes, you absolutely did say that, because I answered you. I said, I don't know.
Boom, boom.
We get over to his bird, which is a cool story. And this bird had a stick impaled through his wing that had been there for years. I posted it on social media. Was under he was wearing this stick against his body, and the tip of it was worn smooth on both ends from him brushing against things on his wing surface and from it dragging the ground. We never noticed that stick when he was strutting the entire three and a half hours that we watched that bird strut. Never saw that stick. Didn't realize it until we got over there to him, roll him over on his back to admire his beard, and there's probably a 17 or 18 inch stick stuck through that his skin had fused around it. And he had actually preened it so much around it that you couldn't even see. You could see the stub sticking through his wing, but the feathers around it were perfect.
Amazing animal.
That really is.
And since that day, I have, no kidding, every turkey I've shot, I have told myself as they're walking in there, put your cheek on the stock.
Yes, 100%.
Keep your face on the gun. Yeah. Don't pick your head up. You can admire him in a minute. Just don't pick your head up, because I'm terrible about that, because I want to watch them so bad, Mm-hmm. I just, come on, let me look at him. Nope.
I do the same thing.
Put your face down.
Especially shooting ducks. Look at him.
Yeah.
I do think that's probably the number one mistake people make, is picking their head up off their stock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
100%.
Well, and if you think about it, it's so logical, because the bird, you just want to watch
You're
it.
fascinated with it, right?
Especially, if they surprise you or something, that's one thing. Mm-mm. But if you're sitting there watching and your anticipation, You know, Dudley's talking about your adrenaline's up and you're pumped and your heart's pounding, and you're just watching. You become an observer, not a participant. And then at the last second, I was like, okay, Mike, put your face on the.
Right.
On the
Where's the gun?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, we tend to lose rational thought in the heat of the moment.
That's
sure.
a great story.
And that's why it's so much. That's one of the reasons it's so much fun. Is,
Mm-hmm.
is that,
100%.
You know,
They put so much pressure on you. That means everything is just intensifying every few
the
seconds.
anticipation is crazy.
Yeah, that's a good story. Well, we hope we don't put some kind of mojo on you.
You better not.
You do. You can blame Dudley if you do.
Yeah.
Well, one positive about hunting by yourself.
Yeah,
nothing ever happens. You know, it just nope. Everything was good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Had a
Nobody
good
counts
time.
your shells in your vest. I mean, my wife's not going to go pilfer through my
Right.
vest. She just wants it out of her house. You know.
That's right. Just
So,
wants it out of our house.
yes.
Good
Well,
stuff.
I enjoyed these stories, guys.
Yeah.
I hope missing's just a part of it. You can't get too far down, and you always live to fight another day.
That's right.
So I don't know, Dudley. I'm cheering for you. You got a few more weeks left.
No whammies.
Yeah, I've got some time.
Yeah,
So-
you need to go to your farm there.
It's going to happen.
Yeah,
It'll happen, Dudley.
go.
Your long lineage of turkey hunting. So
I've had a good year. So
That
We'll
sounds
see.
good. Well, we're all cheering for you, Dudley. Lanny, you got something big going on with Hayden this weekend?
no, I'm actually gonna hunt with Shannon. So we're gonna see if we can get the queen bee a bird. See what happens there.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, we just we didn't know, and we may not be able to talk him into it. Toxey, have you got a miss that you would tell us about?
I really missed going one day last week. It was a really pretty morning, and I had some stuff to do, and so I missed getting to be out in the woods, and so
There it is.
Yeah. So Toxey's got the best excuse for being a little late here today. He took Mr. Fox this morning.
yeah.
And-
Well, that's been over for a while, but yeah, that was good. That's newsworthy.
Yeah.
Good.
We got out, and so we've all not been sure he's going to be able to, or that he even believed he was going to be able to. So we finally, and my mom was like, "Just go,
Right.
go, quit worrying about this." And he did great.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think he doesn't feel the pain sometimes anymore, but he literally stayed till 10:30.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
So one thing changed his life was those chairs.
Yeah.
We got a couple licensees make really good seats with a back to them.
Yeah.
You don't even have to sit with your back to the tree if you don't want to. And an old Bree Love inner tube.
Nothing more comfortable.
Yeah, and that together, and he, are you okay? Usually he's, I better go. 8:30, 7:30. 8 just after a little while, and
He hung in there today,
yeah.
huh?
Well, there was one still gobbling. That helped.
Good.
Yeah.
So he was hearing one. That's awesome.
Don't leave a goblin turkey.
Near.
We did eventually, but it would have been. I'm pretty sure it'd been one of us. It'd be one riding in the truck. But
Yeah.
so we had a good morning,
Good. Had a hunt.
and it was on his place that he developed from nothing.
Yeah.
Didn't have a turkey within 200 miles of it. When he bought it years ago, and some reason as y'all know where it is. It's in the city limits basically, but a few have moved in there over the years, and so after a drought, I think they're starting to come back a little bit.
No, I'm very optimistic.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Well, so what we
Anyway, so everybody out there worried about Mr. Fox. He got in the woods. He heard a turkey. He barely saw a turkey, but on his place where he could really, literally, what was so cool was, as feeble as he is I can't even overemphasize that enough. To watch him go back into kill mode and to be locked in, because he's coming from the school, he's not running and gunning and, whatever. He goes to the woods and he sets, and he might just, for hours at a time, just scan back and forth like the hands of a clock, watching the woods, paying attention to everything's going on. You know, it's not like the culture's kind of developed today about run and gun and go. So to watch him go back to that, and I think he just forgot about all his aches and pains and everything. He was in kill mode.
Oh,
and
wow.
he was, you could see him breathing hard. When I said, Daddy, I hear him drumming. You could see.
Well, my heart rate just went up.
Yeah, mission accomplished.
It was really cool. So did he stay that long? About 7:30 or 8. I think I need to go. And then we were leaving, and then the turkey gobbled on the way out again. And I said, one just gobbled, you up to it? And he said, yeah. And so 10:30, we had to come on out, but till then, so anyway.
Awesome.
I could go on about it the whole podcast, but we can move on now.
No. Yeah, well, hopefully there'll be another morning this season.
I hope so. I'm pretty sure now that he feels like he can do it. He feels more confident about that. You know, Vandy was with me. He was great help. Obviously, it takes a family, a village, to take him and tend to it all and get it set up and all. But I cherish every moment. The one lesson I learned from everybody else is cherish every moment while you have the moments.
Yes, sir.
Chill bumps.
Wow. Yeah.
Go, Mr. Fox.
So we all told stories about turkeys that we've missed. And come to find out, Mike had never missed very many of them. And we're hoping we didn't throw some mojo on him. So, but he did tell us.
Why did you even have to say that?
I know.
He said it multiple times.
I can promise you, if the monkey gets on his back, he's going to bring that monkey to you.
Oh, look.
I guarantee it.
If you get hate mail next week from South Dakota,
bury him.
Then you'll know that it went south quick.
He thinks it's so happy-go-lucky. You know, you don't mess with
Juju, mojo.
You don't mess with juju with turkeys. I mean, you know, baseball games and whatever.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's different.
That's
like I'm literally sitting here
deer.
starting to get a little upset.
He's got that little bit of red in his eye.
Yeah, it's like,
Bobby.
damn it.
And you might want to check your vest too, you know, like weigh it before you go hunting.
He's been known to put stuff in your vest, that's for sure.
Oh, man.
What was it I had in? Oh, it was a skillet. It was a skillet.
Yeah, he put an iron skillet in Douglas.
Yeah,
he put a rock in mine, but it didn't bother me.
All right, Toxey, I'm going to give you one more chance. Is there a miss you want to tell us?
No, other than I've missed more in the last 2 years than in the last 10. So
it happens.
Getting old, yeah. I have a place that I own the property, and it's a great place, and I won't call it out, but it's now known as, I called it the other day, and they said, Dad, you missed another one? And this isn't going on like right now. This is like in the last 2 years. And I had told them what I called it after I missed one there this year. I said, it's the Bermuda Triangle for me. Mm-hmm. And I do remember, and like, kids don't miss much, but especially Neil, he does not miss much, but he missed 2 back-to-back in the same property. And I said, it's the Bermuda Triangle. So the other day when he was up there for just one day, his son dumped bubbles in his laptop, so he drove all, of course, great excuse, drove all the way up from Mobile.
It's turkey season.
Late to get this new computer the next morning. It's like, hey, you mind if I go? And it was the Bermuda Triangle.
He asked permission?
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's an advancement. Anyway, he killed a turkey there. He said, Daddy, they can't die in the Bermuda Triangle. I just want you to know. Send me a picture.
That's cool.
But it's funny how all but one of these misses have been in the same, within a couple hundred yards of each other. So I've kind of got a monkey on my back now.
Well, weren't they doing the sideways walk?
I will say that. Yes, I've talked about it. Every turkey that I can remember missing has been facing sideways, like 90 degrees, either walking or standing. Even if they stop, I can't remember missing one. Even in a strut or whatever, they were straight on. That's just for whatever reason. I think you need to be cautious. I know, the doc could tell you how their head's moving, whatever, but if you think about that, if they're moving, most of their movement on their head is forward and backwards, up, like that, and not side to side. So if you're looking sideways to that, it can move in the blink of an eye, even as you pull the trigger. But if they do that, forward and backward, and they're looking at you, you're still got the same target, no matter what. So I've gotten cautious about that now.
I have a deer stand like that I've missed. I've missed several deer with a bow out of it.
It gets in your head, doesn't it?
It does.
Ooh,
and in fact, I missed another one this year. And then I hit a deer that ended up, we killed her, all out of that same stand to the point where I've stopped hunting it.
I'm not going to stop hunting here. I don't think it's one of my best spots.
It
But
just
I mean,
terrifies me. When I go in there, I climb the tree and I'm already defeated because I'm like, you know what? I screwed that one up, and then she was there, and I screwed that up, and I screwed that up, and
I went through target fright bow hunting it. I guess that's what they called it at one point.
yes, target panic.
Target panic.
the yips.
Yeah.
Yep.
With a bow.
Yep.
And it was a booger bear for a year to get over with. It finally did.
Getting through target panic with a bow will help you be a better rifle hunter too.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, gosh.
It made me a better hunter
Yeah.
all the way around.
Yep.
Really did. It was a doozy for a
Po-
while.
Most for me, the turkey yips is what cure them is patience.
Oh, yeah.
90% of what I was like, why did I rush that? Oh my gosh!
Yeah, you're right.
You know, you just
You had all the time in the world. Why did you do that?
Oh yeah, just like it's okay if they walk off. You know, that's the problem.
That's the problem.
In the back of your mind, the same old killer is in there hiding. You know, inside of you,
right.
going, "Oh my gosh!" You know, I've let so many have gone behind the tree and disappeared,
Yeah.
and or whatever, picked me off or what. So you get rushed and you panic.
Yeah.
I can think 2 times of the recent ones. It was clearly just one more tree and it's wide open park, but I could see them, so I went ahead and took the shot. And I don't know, for whatever reason, the only good thing I will say is that to date I cannot remember knocking one down or even any. So I think they're all, you know, feel like I can live with it as long as I feel like it's a clean miss. So
Yeah.
I figure at 20 or 30 steps with TSS, if you don't even knock them down, or
It's a clean miss.
They're probably a clean
Yeah,
miss.
either they're dead or they're getting away.
That's good. That's
Tiny
good.
pattern.
So yeah, no, I'm not going to talk about one story, but that took longer rambling about that than one would anyway. So
Good
The
story.
Bermuda Triangle. That's it.
Yeah, there we go. Well, this has been, we enjoyed it. Mike,
Yeah.
love having you here.
Love being
and, always good to see you. I think we're going to try to do one more, and we're going to get down into some science with you.
All right.
So it's been good, Lanny. I sure hope we didn't mess up somebody's juju.
Well,
But
it's
if we
all
did-
on you.
if we
It's
did,
all on
It
you.
is.
I
It's
hope
all
it's
on
you.
him.
Don't be pointing down here.
I think we should have a juju consultant in to make sure that it channels it all back to Bobby,
Yeah.
and that he carries it around with him the rest of the spring.
A juju consultant.
If it keeps you from having the yips on turkeys, I'm all for it.
All right. Why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley.
Get us out of here, Richie.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast. And be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.